Yes.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for taking the time to attend this presentation that I'm getting ready to give on the creativity in the entrepreneurship of improvements. My name is Moses Iku, and I am the founder of Common Cookery. Common Cookery is really just a web and mobile app where we find, excuse me, everyday delights for what we call the multi-diaspora eater. Right now, we're pretty much focused on connecting eaters and food creatives who provide African, Asian, Middle Eastern, and Eastern European dishes. We do this through a mobile platform that is currently in development, and we're looking to launch this fall. So I just want to give you a little bit of an overview about myself. As I said, my name is Moses Iku. I was originally born in Nigeria. I've been fortunate to have, I said, lived on three continents, right? Africa, Europe, and now the US, obviously. I came to the US, oh wow, a long time ago, about 98, right out of high school. Stayed there for a little bit, went back to the UK, I got my bachelor's. And when I was done, came back to the US to work. And so I worked in the DC metro area. Yes, I'm actually a local Washington, DC area kid. That's my home in the US, even though I live in Houston, Texas now. I also have a master's from the University of Barcelona. Both my undergrad and my master's are in international business. And I've always been curious as an entrepreneur. Well, I've always been fortunate, I should say, rather, to have come from an entrepreneurial background where a lot of my family members were involved in running one type of business here and there. So I learned really, really earlier on to look for entrepreneurial opportunities and to value what entrepreneurship itself brings to the table for just society as a whole, as well as for individuals who are looking to enrich themselves. Today, I'll be presenting on specifically the creativity that is involved in the entrepreneurship of improvement. So when I say the entrepreneurship of improvement, I literally mean the entrepreneurship that abounds in innovation itself. I have already been in contact with, I believe, some of you on the Wova app. I posted 3 questions yesterday. I think I posted it around like 12 midnight my time. So I apologize for that if some of you have not gotten around to seeing those questions yet. But after we present today, I will be asking those questions, and then those are questions we could actually answer as part of this presentation. I want this to be interactive as much as possible. So as you submit your questions in, feel free to do that. When we get to the Q&A session at the end, we can definitely go over those questions. Again, welcome. I'm curious, out of everybody that I have attending, can I just get a region where you guys may be based out of? I think a few people are based out of Egypt. I've noticed. Is there anybody here from Nigeria? I thought I saw someone from Lagos. Memories. I grew up in Lagos, man, going to boarding schools and everything. Brazil, okay. Oh yeah, I see people from Nigeria. Yeah, man, I'm impressed. Egypt, wow, okay. I've been as far as Morocco. I've not made it to Cairo yet. Indonesia, wow, okay. Wow. Oh, Canada, good. So there are quite a few people from this hemisphere. That's good. Well, I'm glad you guys are all up on board. I feel really, really special to even be able to present to this group. Let's dive right in. Also, I'm going to share this presentation deck once I'm done with this webinar. I'll share it also in the Wova app, and so you can have access to the materials as well as the websites that I'm going to be referencing today as part of the presentation itself. So let's talk about innovation and creativity. So always, when I hear certain terms, the first things that I always ask myself is, what exactly do they even mean? So what does innovation and what does creativity mean? There was a book that I read when I was in college, and I actually read it again this year as I was getting ready to launch my business, titled Entrepreneurship. It was written by two guys, Michael Laverty and Chris Lytle. And this is how they defined innovation itself, that I think probably is one of the closest definitions that I've seen that really makes practical sense. They defined innovation as a change that adds value to an existing product or service. So take a note of that. Innovation as a change that adds value to an existing product or service. And then they defined, sorry, excuse me, tech. Then in that same book, they define creativity as having the ability to develop something original. Now, this is very rare. When you're talking about something original, if you look at your environment, right, how many discoveries, how many things ranging from artworks to existing businesses that you see around that are truly, truly original concepts, original idea. I'm not saying they're not out there, they really are there, but they tend to be rare. But most of the entrepreneurial creativity you see that are bound today are really born out of innovation, which, as I mentioned earlier on, is a change that adds value to an existing product or service. So, for the purpose of this conversation we're having here, innovation in entrepreneurship, it's literally the improvements to an existing product or service that proves valuable to the market. So for those of you who are aspiring entrepreneurs in attendance, right, take that into consideration. Innovate, improve an existing product or service that adds value and the market has a demand for. That is probably one of the easiest way for you to really turn around and become an entrepreneur in this day and age. And an age-old example of this sort of innovation, and as a lot of you go off to college and you study your various courses, you'll probably hear about the assembly line. The assembly line, most people will tell you, was invented by Henry Ford of Ford Motor Company, but he really did not invent it. He rather more or less improved on what was an 800-year-old process of building wooden ships by hand along a moving waterway. So he turned that process into building metal cars by hand on a moving conveyor belt. And that revolutionized manufacturing as we know it, because it allowed us to be able to build a lot of our products quicker and to get out to the marketplace as well. And most of manufacturing has borrowed that technique just because it's useful, right? And that's what we tend to do as humans. When we see an idea or when we see a process that works, right? It's natural for us to be inspired by that and to want to boost our knowledge of that particular process itself and build on it. Another example of innovation, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, is what your modern day smartphone is. I mean, it really is just a series of improvements that's gone on from like the brick version all the way to this current mini computer model of a mobile phone. So as you're thinking along that line, right, even though the book on entrepreneurship defined innovation as a change that adds value to an existing product or service, it doesn't shy away from also concluding that innovative improvements themselves tend to really, really require creative solutions. So this is where they go hand in hand, right? Most of the innovative improvements that you see today, right, literally have had to require those creativity in the improvements that were made, which has spurred a lot of entrepreneurial successes. Like I mentioned with the smartphones, for instance, right? A lot of us in the US and maybe some of you overseas know who Steve Jobs is. He's really credited with developing the modern smartphone. He was the one who sat around. I mean, the mobile phone had been around way before him, but he thought about improving it to the extent where you literally can now work. I know before the pandemic locked me down, I lived on the road and my smartphone was my buddy. It's attached to me like another limb, right? We all live, we all work, you name it, from our smartphones today. That is a clear example of innovation. And people like Steve Jobs, right, saw the opportunity in making these creative changes to the existing products that proved to be really valuable to the market. And like I mentioned, a lot of us cannot live without that now as we speak. So we've talked about creativity in innovation itself. Now, you are attending today and you're telling me, okay, that is all well and good. I've heard this before. But what I want to know as an aspiring entrepreneur is, how do I develop the creative side of me as well as the innovative side of me that can lead to entrepreneurial success? I would tell you one of the easiest way is really to find a problem to solve. Most of the people or most of the successful entrepreneurs we celebrate today, like the Elon Musk of this world, started out by asking a question because they were trying to solve a particular problem. Find a problem to solve and you will be amazed at how your creativity will come into play. Now, you ask me, but how do I even find a meaningful problem to solve? You don't have to travel far and wide. You can start really by looking at yourself and your immediate surroundings. And an easy way to do that is to ask yourself, or your friends, or your family members, or even people in your neighborhood, what is an inconvenience to us? What is an issue we're having right now that needs to be resolved? And if it is resolved, will be beneficial to us as a whole. And you will be amazed at the entrepreneurial creativity that would come from such an outlook. That's how we started here, I know, with Common Cookery. So I want to actually give you guys a practical real life example of a successful entrepreneur who started by just asking himself a basic question about his inconvenience. So what was his personal inconvenience? He loves sneakers, right? I mean, for those of us here in the US where we have the sneaker culture, I know it's also popular in certain parts of Europe as well as other parts of the world, right? But the issue that he had with his sneakers, as I'm sure those of you who are in love with sneakers and wear them regular had, is the fact that they get stuffed and dirty easily. And it was a pain in his behind. Now, he could not believe that there were no cleaning products. As popular as sneakers were becoming, there were absolutely no cleaning products around to clean sneakers. He certainly did not want to throw them away. He even took them to his local cobbler to say, look, man, I love these sneakers. I paid a lot of money for it, or my mom paid a lot of money for it. They keep getting dirty. I try using cleaning solution at home. Nothing is working. Can you help me out? And the cobbler told him, sorry, man, I don't have the cleaning tools for such a thing. So what does he do? Does he give up? No. He decided he was going to clean his own, he was going to create his own sneaker cleaning and restoration solution. So he built a product that specifically was designed for cleaning sneakers. If you spend $200, $300 in certain instances on these shoes, right, you really want to keep them clean. You want them to last as long as possible, right? And he just thinking about, okay, I need to come up with a cleaning solution for my sneakers, has led him to pioneer an upscale sneaker cleaning and restoration industry. A lot of his cleaning products are now sold in over 2,000 stores across 30 countries. Not only did he benefit himself through trying to solve this particular inconvenience, he along the way has created jobs. He even created a new career field called sneaker techs. So these are individuals that are trained to specially clean and restore sneakers, and they work in one of his 3 stores across the world. And sometimes they even travel around to all these other like stores that sell his products to coach employees on how to properly clean and restore sneakers. Imagine that. And that's definitely not the only impact he has. I know for a while here in the US, one of the popular businesses to start, particularly amongst teenagers and young adults, were sneaker care businesses. He inspired a lot of these individuals to go into this line of business, something that no one thought of before, right? Who am I talking about? This is a guy called John Mack, right? All of this started in 2007 for him. All he wanted to do was find a solution to a personal inconvenience. Now he's a successful entrepreneur and is a pioneer in the field. What am I saying here? I mentioned earlier on that what is one of the easiest ways to spur your creative and your innovative spirit, right? Look at your immediate surroundings. Look at yourself. You will be able to spot immediate inconveniences that really can get you thinking, and in so doing may result in entrepreneurial success. So don't take those minor inconveniences for granted, right? Even when they boil down to just minor aggravation. I remember what it was like to be, I don't know, 17, 18, right? And getting easily aggravated by almost everything around me, typical teenage life, right? Now, I touched on one way to spark your curiosity as well as your creativity and your innovation, right? What is another way that you can do that? Start being curious and learn to collaborate with each other. There is a successful entrepreneur and thought leader that I have a lot of respect for. His name is Andrew Ng. He worked for Google and also Baidu. He really helped pioneer a lot of their map search divisions. So you're talking about an individual who worked for 2 of the largest internet search platforms on the planet. And this is what he said about how he becomes creative and innovative. Literally in his own word, he's like, in my own life, I found that whenever I wasn't sure what to do next, I would go and learn a lot. I would also read a lot, and I would talk to experts. So what are the 3 keys here? He learns a lot by reading a lot and by talking to experts. And then he goes on to say, I don't know how the human brain works, but it seems to be almost magical. Because when you read enough or you talk to enough experts, and when you have enough inputs, new ideas start appearing. I am a lifelong learner in that regard just because I'm naturally curious. So one of the things I do is I ask a lot of questions, I read a lot, I talk to a lot of people in different fields who think differently or who are at least working towards achieving a certain level of success in their field. My wife always laughs at me like saying that you can just walk up and talk to anybody. It's just something that I do just because I'm naturally curious, right, for the right reasons. So I would say it's imperative for you to be curious and to teach yourself to continuously learn from others to spark the innovative and the creative side of you that could typically translate into business opportunity. So how do you teach yourself to be curious and to learn from each other? As I mentioned, start by reading. And I mean reading actual meaningful journals and articles and books, right, that cover entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation across various fields. The privilege a lot of you have at this age is you're still in a position where you're being introduced to different fields and you're being taught the fundamentals and all the moving parts of these fields. Pay attention to that, right? Start critically thinking about these fields, asking questions. As you're reading, right? Try to challenge some of the notions within these fields and see what pops up at you that sparks your curiosity, that enables you to further ask questions, to be able to find actual problems, or to build on existing solutions within these fields. So as a continuation of reading a lot to spark that curiosity, naturally start asking questions. I really believe there is no such thing as a stupid question. Even if people respond to you that way, ask questions. I use a lot of the scientific method, right? When it comes to making decisions or to go after certain ideas that I'm interested in, right? As you can see from the visual on the slide deck, another very successful and innovative entrepreneur, Elon Musk, who is the founder of SpaceX and Tesla, uses that same approach in a way. He usually starts by asking questions, and those questions will lead to subsequent steps that validate his conclusions. And those conclusions is what we're witnessing, when he is one of the first person in a very long time to actually launch a rocket on US to the moon. That day was amazing to watch, at least for me anyway. So I'm not surprised that he's a successful and entrepreneur in our age. After you ask yourself questions and you've identified certain problems that you're looking to solve, right, or certain opportunities, right, apply what I call lateral thinking. Lateral thinking really just means think freely and openly, because this will help you spot the creativity that you need to solve that particular problem that you might have identified. If you feel you're running into roadblocks or you're not sure, right, don't be afraid to test your idea or your possible solution really early. Put it out there, to your friends, to your classmates, to your parents, or even some chat groups that you may be a part of online. Just put the questions out there and say, okay, well, look, I'm thinking of this as a possibility. Do you think it makes sense? Now, be open to those feedbacks. Some of it you may not like, but it's necessary, right, for not to only build on the creativity, but to also improve on the innovative idea that you're looking to develop into this entrepreneurial opportunity itself. Then always connect with others. You can never build your network large enough. Use the internet wisely. There's a lot of resources out there. I rely on the internet a lot to connect to different groups in various fields on platforms like LinkedIn, and believe it or not, Facebook and Instagram. You can connect to a lot of resources and you can see a lot of innovation that is happening in different spaces that will definitely support the creative side of you. Similar to what you're doing right now by being a part of this academy, right? You're networking, you're connecting with people all over the world. I saw people from Brazil, from Egypt in attendance today. it's important that you maintain those relationships. Build on that connection, chat with these guys, be curious, see what they're working on. Even if someone is looking to go to college to become a computer scientist, see how the knowledge that they're gaining can be beneficial to even you who may be studying to become a biologist, right? You never know how an entrepreneurial idea can spur out of that, that you can build a bioinformatics platform, for instance, that will benefit all of mankind. And look for connections with other groups like the World Economic Forum and the UN and the World Bank that have youth programs that they're actively looking for participants to come on board in. These are good networking resources. These are also environments where you can really meet movers and shakers, people who are entrepreneurial, people who are innovative, people who are creative, to help you build on the creative side of you as well. So moving on. Another way that you can spur your innovative and creative side, as I mentioned earlier on, is also to watch your environment closely. When you do this, you will notice a lot of changes and perceptions. You would also notice a lot of emerging new technologies. This COVID-19 pandemic environment we're living in, for instance, right, is really creating a lot of innovative opportunities. Pay attention to all the emerging trends within these fields. The key is that about innovation itself is that it's really a response to changes within a current environment and outside of that environment. I can't stress that hard enough, right? For you to really pay attention to emerging trends in this space, particularly when it comes to technology. A lot of us, unfortunately, cannot live with it these days, or should I say fortunately, because of the pandemic environment. But then there are opportunities, as I've mentioned, that are rising from it. All of a sudden, people that were not receptive to online shopping, for instance, now have no choice and they're embracing it. And it's creating a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities. Similarly, in the US in particular, where it was a culture for you to go out to sit down in a restaurant and to dine and to eat, when we had to go on a lockdown, that was not a reality, but people still had to eat. That has created a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities. Now you even see robot delivery services out there because people are worried about health and safety. And there are innovators out there who saw the opportunity in being able to provide some sort of like a contactless delivery service where people can still receive their foods from their favorite local restaurants without having to be in contact with other human beings that may possibly transmit the COVID virus to them. So pay attention to your immediate environment. Watch out for the changes in perception from people in your immediate environment. Pay attention to all the emerging trends in the environment itself. All of this goes a long way in spurring the creative side of you that you can apply to improving on existing services and products that are out there, which can really become the next entrepreneurial opportunity for you. And you're never too young to do that. I know some of you attended the earlier session where Brenda talked about all these young entrepreneurs that started early. I think there was a lady there, a girl there that was 9 or 12 years old, and another young boy there who is now estimated to be worth $12 million. They just saw the opportunities and they went for it. Now, another way you can really spur your innovative and creative side, which really ties back to also paying attention to your environment and your immediate trends, is to find inspiration from other industries. So you can always find innovation and creative opportunities by researching what businesses are dominating and asking yourself, why are they dominant in this particular industry? It will get you to see what they're doing right. It would also get you to see where opportunities lie, because there's always a group left out and there's always a niche that you can go after. Another way you could even pay attention to other industries and be inspired by their successes, right, is to even see what businesses and brands you yourself you're loyal to. Ask yourself, why are you loyal to them? Is it that you just like the styling of their product? Is it that you like how convenient the product is to use, or how convenient it is to access their service? Are they solving a particular problem? These type of questions and narrowing down on particular industries can really help in spurring the innovative and creative side of you to be able to really develop and go after opportunities that may be out there. Um, every industry, right, is always looking out for the next innovation. Most successful brands know that they are not the be all and the end all of whatever their idea are. They know there's always somebody else coming behind them who can improve on their existing product or service, and that person can be you. And a lot of the people who do this are very good at observing and finding inspiration from these successful brands within particular industries. So I recommend you also use that as a source of inspiration. That's what happened with us here with Common Cookery. It was really simple. So I'm of Nigerian descent. I'm a part of the Nigerian diaspora here in the US. There are certain foods that I love to eat, but I've also been fortunate to have traveled and lived in different places and fallen in love with their local dishes as well. So when the DoorDash and the Grubhubs and the major delivery apps started to really change the food service industry, I found out that a lot of the restaurants and dishes that I really liked were not on these major delivery apps. Yeah, they may have Chinese food, a little bit of Korean here and there, a little bit of South Indian dish, but they were not the ones that I really liked. So I started to ask questions. I polled, I even created a survey, as part of my market analysis, right, amongst other diaspora groups. And they're just like, yeah, we can't ever find them on these guys. And part of the reason is a lot of these apps just do not understand how to even approach our markets to the restaurants that typically cook this kind of dishes. Because they tend to be like your small mom and pop hole in the wall locations, right? And so for us with Common Cookery, we saw an opportunity within that segment. I reached out to 400 different restaurants and they're like, yeah, they also had a problem of the fees were too high on these platforms. So I started to think, how can I support these restaurants? How can I connect them to these consumers who love to eat their dishes in a cost-effective manner where they can sell their food online, have it delivered easily, and not be paying 30 to 40% service fees for their deliveries. And that's how Common Cookery came to be. I took inspiration from the delivery services and found a niche because I saw that there was a group that was being neglected. And now we're building the platform that we're getting ready to launch by the ending of August. Now, this probably works best for me as well. I always recommend that you get in the habit of celebrating and enjoying the creativity of others. Because what it does is it gets you to think. And when you think, you can get really creative. For me, and for a lot of other entrepreneurs that I really studied and engaged with, this is one of the ways that their innovative side is sparked. I love to watch videos, for instance, of beautiful, unique homes. Because when you pay close attention to these videos, right, I watch a lot of them on YouTube. It's one of my favorite pastimes. There is so much creativity and design in the design and building process that you will notice. I will share these two web links with you guys after this presentation, right? Take the time, watch these videos, and just see how it was amazing to build this glass reflective house in the middle of the desert in California. It will get your creative juices going. So get into the habit of celebrating the creativity and the innovation of others, because it's also another way you can really spur the creative and innovative side of you as you look to get into entrepreneurship and seek opportunities that are out there that you can actually build on. So as I'm rounding up today, I'm going to challenge you to become creative and innovative, become inspired, be like Miracle Olatunji, who started Opportunity when she was just in high school as a way to help high school students connect with opportunities or to help them to even decide on what career fields that they want to go into. Another young entrepreneur that really inspired me is a gentleman called Benjamin Stern, who actually appeared on a show called Shark Tank here in the US. And for any one of you who've watched it, you know that could be a very hard show to be a part of, to present in front of sometimes, and was able to get Mark Cuban to become an investor. So what did he do? He created an eco-friendly body products company called Noble. His products do not contain any harsh chemicals, and they generate no plastic waste. So this is an idea he came with while he was in 9th grade in biology class. So you're never too young to start thinking. Like I said, challenging you guys to become inspired, to be creative, and to be innovative and come up with the next entrepreneurial idea. Doesn't have to be fresh from this scratch. You don't have to invent anything. You just have to look for what is around you that you can improve on and build on that solution or that product itself. So I encourage you to get creative, start thinking. And I'm going to share, like I mentioned earlier, for those of you who might have joined later, that I will be sharing these with you in the app so you can have access to some of these readings and videos where you can really witness creativity and innovation firsthand and hopefully get inspired. And so thank you. It's the Q&A, and I hope I was able to convey to you guys, you know, what it takes to become innovative and to be creative while you try to be innovative itself. Questions? Oh, what books do you recommend? I would say, this is from Louis. I would say, and I apologize if I'm not saying your name correctly. I would say read that book, Entrepreneur. It's part of the links that are included on the last page of the slide that I'm going to share with you. So you could even understand, first of all, what it means to be an entrepreneur and what it means to become an innovative as well as a creative entrepreneur. It gives a lot of examples backed by research that can really get you to be thinking along the right direction. Okay. Okay, hey, Brenda. So Brenda asked, Moses, you mentioned about common cookery, but can you explain what a cloud kitchen is and how you are starting one in the Houston area? So the original concept of common cookery was to build what we call cloud kitchens and then build a digital platform that people can also order their food from. So for those of you who don't know what a cloud kitchen is, a cloud kitchen is really an off-premise kitchen facilities that rent out kitchen spaces to restaurants and private chefs and caterers to solely fulfill their to-go deliveries. So you know how when you go to your typical restaurants, right, they have what you call a storefront because you can walk in and you can sit and you can dine. With cloud kitchens, there are no storefronts. It's just a facility with multiple kitchens and houses different restaurants at the same times. And they just prep their food to either take to some of their other restaurants or to have their foods delivered online. So for those of you who use food delivery apps a lot, what you may not know is a lot of those restaurants you see on the apps, right, operate out of a cloud kitchen environment. They're called cloud kitchens because the restaurants that operate out of them operate on those virtual platforms, hence cloud. So it's not unusual. You could go on a web and say Grubhub, for instance, right? And you see a pizza restaurant and you see a Chinese restaurant and you see an Indian restaurant and a Mexican restaurant, right? They could all be owned by the same company, and they all operate out of a cloud kitchen environment where you can't go into the facility physically to sit down and eat. All they just do is cook food and have it delivered to you. So for us, we're still going to build it. The only reason why we had to push that back was because when the pandemic hit, we had to re-strategize and pivot to even see what the environment is going to bring us in the next 12 to 24 months. Any more?
Moses, there's a couple questions coming into the chat.
Okay.
I think Kifa asked, do you think as long as we starting our new business creatively, we'll be able to seek through the gap of the market giants and bigger corporations?
Sorry, do you think if we start the business well?
I think she's asking if they start a business, a small business, how do they navigate the market gaps and not get outcompeted by the big corporate giants?
That's a very, very, very good question, right? I'll tell you what we did. For us, we wrote up multiple scenarios. So this is something I'm recommending for any entrepreneur who's getting into any space right now. When you are starting a business, you have your original business idea and you're looking to develop it. Create at least 2 other what-if scenarios. One of them is a worst-case scenario, like a lot of businesses are impacted by COVID, right? The other is also a best-case scenario where sales can boom. Are you ready to meet that demand if it booms? And then another possible scenario is, what if a bigger guy muscles into your territory? How do you compete? It's important at the very beginning to also look for ways to protect your business idea to avoid encroachment. We have, over the past 2 weeks, really put the framework in place to protect the common cookery idea itself so that if others come into the space, right, we know what is proprietary to us and what might have been infringed on. It is never too early to seek legal counsel. The other part is you just compete. Going into business, right, is a risky endeavor. One thing that you have at your side as a small business is the ability to be nimble and to move quickly. A lot of big corporations can muscle into your space, right? But because of all the overhead that they have to drag along with themselves, they may not be as able to get to market as quickly as you can. So we're using Zoom today. It's a perfect example. Skype has been around a lot longer than Zoom, Microsoft Skype, as well as other virtual conferencing platforms like WebEx. But Zoom just skyrocketed and shot up to #1 because they were lean, they saw an opportunity, they got to market super quickly, and now all the big companies are playing catch up from Google to Microsoft to their Teams and their Skype. because Zoom is already there. So move quickly, move quickly, move quickly. Focus on customer service. You have that on your side. Build that customer loyalty from day one. Get your customers to view you almost as a family member. It's a great, great, great way to outcompete the big guys. I hope that answered your question.
Awesome. There's a couple other ones coming in. Um, Catherine Rios asks, do you think any career or of health area needs creativity or entrepreneurship? So I'm assuming the healthcare industry needing creativity and entrepreneurship.
Oh my goodness, that probably has to be one of the industries experiencing some of the most creative boom right now. I live in Houston, right, which boasts of the world's largest medical center. I don't know how accurate that is, right? There is a lot of creativity happening in the space of telehealth, for instance, right? Where because of the pandemic environment we're in and the hospitals are just saturated with patients, a lot of typical routine care have had to be done remotely. So you have telehealth platforms where doctors are having to diagnose all kinds of cases or treat patients online, right? And only have them come in if it's extremely critical. The other side of it is that look into the field of personalized healthcare services. There's this big push about personalized medicine now. We used to have all these drugs that were supposed to be solution for everybody. And as we've advanced in our knowledge, we're beginning to realize that what works for one demographic does not necessarily work for another demographic. So you're having all kinds of research being done right now that is focused on that personalized medicine that are targeted to whether it's just women's health, whether it's just a certain demographics of Latin Americans or East Asian Americans. That in itself is a big, big, big field. And also the field of healthcare data. Look at all of that. Those are big fields. You can actually get a lot of information if you go to a typical university, right? They have what you call an office of technology commercialization. They tend to have researches out there. A lot of them revolve health or possible opportunities that you can look into exploring that you can build a business out of.
No, I definitely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Very important, dealing with this pandemic.
Yep. Yeah, that's the healthcare field. It's just one. I mean, the World Economic Forum. I implore you guys, right? Look them up and their youth initiative. One of the emerging fields out of this pandemic that they are stressing is the field of telehealth. For everybody now, right? Nothing is more paramount than our health and safety, right? So if any one of you is thinking along those lines, absolutely start looking at what is being done. Go to the Texas Medical Center website. All these various teaching hospitals and research universities, they have a lot in the works that can really, really spark your creativity and your innovation in that space.
Amazing. So we're closing up on time. There's one of the questions came in. Colin Kruger asked, how often do your two careers of being an entrepreneur and an educator cross over?
All the time. All the time, all the time. It comes from the fact that you have to speak in front of people all the time. And I love to talk. Oh, my wife will tell you all day long, right? I talk all the time. So I'm always asked to give speeches about my entrepreneurial journey. And I love it. I don't have any problem with it at all. I embrace it, matter of fact.
No, yeah. I feel like entrepreneurs are always being teachers and being that lead example for even other people in industries. So I definitely see everyone who pursues entrepreneurship and has great ideas. If you're sharing those ideas, you're teaching. And so, that's
exactly. You're always being looked up to. It comes up with the territory. So get used to it. If you're an entrepreneur, you will be a teacher.
Yep. So Thank you so much, Moses. This was an amazing session.
I don't
I
want.
I think the students are very engaged and very really appreciate this session and you taking the time to express and teach them creativity and innovation and your own experiences. Um, just for the students, I know you guys are very hungry. I see the chat, everyone's talking about their food and sending pictures of it. So we're gonna break for another 10 minutes and then we have the lunch session, which will open up and you guys can hop in, eat, and talk. It's just an informal kind of place for you guys to, get to know each other, get to talk to each other. You don't have to, there's no structure. You don't have to learn,
Mhm.
a lesson, but you guys feel free to come and go. It's not mandatory. But we really want you guys to have that opportunity to talk to each other. We're gonna have some icebreaker topics as well. So, what are your favorite things you learned today, or what you're excited about learning during this academy? Also, it could be something simple like your hobby, your favorite hobby, or summer experience ever. Not this summer because obviously everyone's locked down, but things you've done in the past or you look forward to. So those are some things. I'll remind you of them when we move to the next session of the lunch opening. And so that'll be an hour from 12 to 1, and then at 1 o'clock Eastern time, obviously, I know everyone's different locations, we will start, the next session, which will be a workshop for creativity and innovation. So can't wait. Go get some food, get some rest, and we will see each other soon.
Bye, guys.